The Grand Council chamber was silent. 500 representatives from across the galaxy sat in their assigned seats, all eyes fixed on the central speaking platform. Director Juan stood motionless, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light from overhead. The message he held in his hand had arrived just moments ago, and its contents had turned his blood cold. The judgment has been considered. The council has been found wanting. No sender. No explanation. Just 11 words that somehow felt heavy with threat. Director Juan, said Head Counselor Rim, her voice cutting through the silence. Is there a problem? Juan looked up at the giant circular arrangement of seats that rose like a stadium around him. The most powerful beings in the galaxy watched him with a mixture of curiosity and impatience. We have received a message, he said simply. Its origin is unknown, but the wording is concerning. A murmur spread through the chamber. Unknown messages were rare in an age where every communication was tracked and logged. Read it, ordered Rim. Juan cleared his throat. It says the judgment has been considered. The council has been found wanting. Silence fell again, deeper than before. Then from the upper tiers, laughter began. It was Counselor June of the Crystalline Dominion, an ancient member race known for their arrogance. Is this what interrupts our session? An anonymous threat? June's crystal body glinted as he stood. How many such messages do our security forces intercept daily? Thousands. Why bring this one to our attention? Director Juan remained calm. Because this one bypassed all our security measures. It appeared simultaneously on every communication device in the central security hub. That should be impossible, the laughter died. Impossible things made the council nervous. There is something else, Juan continued. The language pattern matches only one known species in our records. Head Counselor Rim leaned forward. Which species? Humans. The word hung in the air like poison. No one had spoken that name in the council chambers for nearly 300 years. Impossible, said Rim. Humans are gone. They left council space. Their worlds are empty. Yes, agreed Juan. Which makes this message all the more concerning. From a middle tier, a young counselor rose. She was Bomi, newly appointed representative of the Luminar, one of the youngest species admitted to the council. I apologize for my ignorance, she said, her voice clear but uncertain. But I'm not familiar with humans. Were they a council member? The silence that followed was uncomfortable. Many of the older council members shifted in their seats. Finally, it was June who answered. Technically, yes. For a brief period. They were a problem species. Unpredictable, emotional, dangerous. They left, said Rim, cutting off further explanation. 300 years ago, they abandoned their colonies and disappeared. Good riddance, most agreed at the time. Bomi looked confused. An entire species just left without explanation? They submitted one final communication, said Juan. Their last representative, Director Tay, sent a simple resignation. Humanity withdraws from the council. No goodbye, no caution. Within one rotation, all human settlements across 27 systems were abandoned. And now they send threats? Asked Bomi. We don't know it's them, said Rim firmly. This meeting will continue as scheduled. Director Juan, investigate this message, but do so quietly. We will not alarm the galaxy over what is likely nothing more than a prank. Juan bowed and left the platform, but his mind was troubled. This was no prank. Something was coming. 3 days later, a research vessel named Stellar Explorer drifted at the edge of known space. Its mission was routine. Map the outer boundaries, look for resource-rich asteroids, update navigational charts. Captain Hyun stood on the bridge, staring at the stars. Sir, called his sensor officer, Sue. I'm detecting something odd. Hyun moved to her station. Define odd, Officer Sue. Sue pointed to her screen. This region of space. The stellar density is wrong. According to our charts, there should be stars visible in this sector, but there's nothing. Hyun frowned. Equipment malfunction? I've run 3 diagnostics. Everything is working properly. Sue looked up at her captain. Sir, it's as if something is hiding the stars. That's impossible, said Hyun. But even as he said it, he remembered stories from his academy days. Rumors of advanced technology that could bend light. Technology the council had banned. Change course, he ordered suddenly. Take us closer to the anomaly. As the Stellar Explorer approached the empty region, the sensors began to register more irregularities. Energy readings that appeared and disappeared. Gravitational fluctuations that defied known physics. "Sir," said Sue, her voice tense, "I'm detecting a massive object on the edge of the anomaly. It just appeared." Hyun watched as the sensor display showed a ship materializing from the darkness. It was enormous, at least 20 times the size of the Stellar Explorer. Its design was like nothing he had ever seen, with smooth curves and sections that seemed to phase in and out of visibility. "Open a communication channel," he ordered. Before the communications officer could comply, every screen on the bridge lit up with the same message: "Remain in position." "You are being scanned." "Sir," whispered Sue, "that ship, its reading is human in design." Hyun felt a chill run down his spine. Humans were gone. Everyone knew that. Yet here was evidence to the contrary. The huge ship moved closer, its movements impossibly graceful for its size. Then, without warning, a beam of light engulfed the Stellar Explorer. "We're being pulled in," shouted the navigator. "Some kind of tractor technology." Hyun remained calm. "All personnel, prepare for potential first contact. Remember your training." As the Stellar Explorer was drawn into a vast docking bay, Hyun couldn't help but marvel at what he saw. The interior of the ship was a city unto itself, with structures and technology that seemed almost organic in design. When the ship finally came to rest, Hyun ordered the outer doors sealed. "No one leaves until we know what we're dealing with." A voice filled the bridge, speaking perfect galactic standard. "Captain Hyun of the research vessel Stellar Explorer. You and your crew are safe. I will board your vessel momentarily to explain our presence. Please do not be alarmed." Minutes later, the airlock cycled and a figure stepped onto the bridge. He appeared human in form, but there was something different about him. His movements were too fluid, his eyes too knowing. "I am Minho," he said simply. "And yes, I am human. My people have been watching your council for a very long time." Hyun found his voice. "Humans left council space 300 years ago," Minho smiled. "We left council space, yes. But we never went far. We've been here all along, evolving, building, waiting." "Waiting for what?" asked Hyun. "For the right moment to return." Minho's expression grew serious. "That moment has arrived. A threat approaches that your council is unprepared for. A threat we warned about before our departure." He handed Hyun a small device. "This contains information your council needs. Take it to them. Tell them humanity has returned not for revenge, but because the judgment is coming." "What judgment?" asked Hyun. "The one we tried to warn them about 300 years ago," said Minho. "The one they dismissed as human paranoia. The one that now threatens every living being in this galaxy." Minho turned to leave but paused at the airlock. "Your ship will be released momentarily. Make haste to the council, Captain Hyun. There is little time left." As the human disappeared, Hyun looked down at the small device in his hand. Something told him the galaxy was about to change forever. Back in the council chambers, Director Hwan received disturbing reports. 3 outer colonies had gone silent. Patrol ships sent to investigate had disappeared. And now an urgent message from a research vessel claimed to have made contact with humans. The judgment was coming. And the council was not ready. Councillor Bomi could not sleep. The council meeting had ended hours ago, but questions about the humans kept her awake. Why had an entire species simply left? What had made them abandon their homes? And why might they return now after 300 years? With these questions spinning in her mind, she made her way to the Grand Archives. The massive building stood at the center of the council city, its crystal spires reaching toward the stars. As a new councillor, Bomi had access to most sections, though some remained restricted even to her. "Welcome, Councillor Bomi," said the archive system as she entered. "How may I assist your research today?" "I need information on humans," she replied. "Historical records of their time in the council." The system paused. "That information is restricted, Councillor. You will need special permission from Head Councillor Rim." Bomi frowned. "Restricted? Why would historical records be restricted?" "I cannot answer that question." "Would you like to submit a formal request for access?" Something felt wrong. Why restrict information about a species that had left centuries ago? "No," she said finally. "Show me what is available without special permission." The system directed her to a small section labeled Minor Species, Historical. The information there was basic and clearly sanitized. Humans were described as an emotional, unpredictable species from a water-rich world called Earth. Their time in the council was summarized in a few short paragraphs, ending with, After failing to adapt to galactic civilization, humans voluntarily withdrew from the Council in the year 4720 and relocated to unknown regions. This can't be all, Bomi muttered to herself. A species doesn't just leave without reason. She thought for a moment, then had an idea. System. Show me council meeting records from the years 4715 to 4720. Those records are available, the system replied. Please specify your area of interest. Show me any meetings where the human representative spoke. The system processed her request. 42 meetings found, displaying chronologically. Bomi spent hours watching the recordings. The human representative, Director Tay, appeared increasingly frustrated in each meeting. He brought warnings about strange energy readings from beyond the galaxy's edge, requested resources for defense preparations, and proposed research into new shield technologies. In each meeting, the Council dismissed his concerns. Councillor June was particularly harsh, often mocking the humans' typical paranoia. In the final recording, dated just days before humanity's departure, Director Tay stood before the Council one last time. For 5 years, I have brought evidence of an approaching threat, he said, his voice calm but his eyes intense. For 5 years you have ignored us. Our scientists detect something massive approaching from intergalactic space, something that consumes everything in its path. We have tried to prepare, but the Council blocks our every effort. Head Councillor Rim, younger than but no less stern, cut him off. The Council has reviewed your evidence and found it insufficient. Your request for military expansion is denied. Tay's expression didn't change. Then humanity will act alone. Any unauthorized military buildup will be considered an act of aggression against the Council, warned Rim. You leave us no choice, said Tay quietly. 3 days later, humanity submitted its one-line resignation and disappeared. Bomi sat back, troubled by what she'd seen. The official records claimed humans left because they failed to adapt. But these recordings told a different story. They left because the Council ignored their warnings about a threat, the same threat that might now be returning. As she was about to leave, a small notification appeared in her vision. Counselor, you have received a message from Counselor Day. Day was her mentor, the one who had sponsored her admission to the Council. The message was brief. Meet me at my residence immediately. Tell no one. Counselor Day's home was in the upper levels of the city with a view of the entire council district. When Bomi arrived, she found him standing by the window looking out at the lights below. You were at the archives, he said without turning. It wasn't a question. Yes, she admitted. I was researching humans. Day turned to face her, his expression grave. Why? The message Director Juan received. It seemed important, but no one would explain about humans. I wanted to understand. And did you understand? Bomi hesitated. I think the humans left because we ignored their warnings about some kind of threat. The same threat might be returning now. Day closed his eyes briefly. You've always been too clever for your own good, Bomi. He gestured for her to sit. What I'm about to tell you is known only to the highest levels of the Council. If anyone discovers I've shared this with you, we will both face severe consequences. I understand, said Bomi, though she wasn't sure she did. Humans were different, Day began. When they joined the Council, they were still young as a species, barely 1,000 years into space travel. Most species aren't discovered until they've been exploring space for at least 5,000 years. Why were they admitted so early? Because they advanced too quickly. The Council feared what they might become if left unguided. Day's expression darkened. Or uncontrolled. The Council restricted them. Day nodded. Humans were innovative in ways that frightened the older species. They solved problems differently. They took risks. They developed technologies that the Council had intentionally avoided. Like what? Like consciousness transfer. Artificial intelligence integration. Light-bending technology that could hide entire star systems. Day looked at her directly. Technologies the Council had banned because they could upset the balance of power. Bomi was shocked. The Council stole their innovations? Restricted them. Regulated them. Kept the most dangerous ones for ourselves while telling the public they were forbidden. Day sighed. And when humans warned of a threat from beyond the galaxy, we ignored them because acknowledging it would mean admitting we needed their help, their dangerous ideas. And now the threat is real, said Bomi. The Judgment Director Juan's message. Mentioned. Perhaps. Day moved away from the window. Or perhaps the humans themselves are the threat. They've had 300 years to develop their technology, to grow stronger. Maybe they're coming back for revenge. But why now, after all this time? Before Day could answer, both their communication devices chimed with an urgent council summons. The message was brief but alarming. Emergency session. Research vessel Stellar Explorer has returned with critical information. Attendance mandatory. Director Juan stood on the speaking platform again, but this time he was not alone. Captain Hyun of the Stellar Explorer stood beside him, looking tired but determined. The council chamber buzzed with tension. "Counselors," began Juan. "Captain Hyun's vessel encountered something at the edge of known space. I believe his report requires your full attention." Hyun stepped forward. 3 days ago, my ship detected an anomaly in a region where stars should have been visible but weren't. Upon investigation, we were intercepted by a vessel of," he paused, "human design." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Head Counselor Rim called for silence. "Continue, Captain," she ordered. "The vessel was technologically advanced beyond anything in Council records. We were brought aboard where I met with a human representative named Minho. He provided this data device and a message." Hyun held up a small silvery object. The message was this: "Humanity has returned not for revenge but because the judgment is coming. The same judgment they warned about before their departure." Counselor June stood angrily. "This is clearly a human trick. They abandoned the council and now they return with threats of judgment?" "It wasn't a threat," insisted Hyun. "It was a warning. The humans seemed genuinely concerned for our safety." "What's on the data device?" asked Rim. Director Juan answered, "We've only begun to analyze it, but it contains astronomical data showing massive energy disturbances approaching from intergalactic space. Exactly as the humans warned 300 years ago." Bomi found herself standing before she realized what she was doing. The archives show that Director Tay, the last human representative, repeatedly warned the council about this threat. "We dismissed him as paranoid. You've accessed restricted archives?" Rim's voice was dangerous. "Only public meeting records," Bomi replied. "They show clearly that humans left because we ignored their warnings, not because they failed to adapt as our official history claims." The chamber went silent. Many of the younger counselors looked shocked, while the older ones avoided each other's eyes. "The humans claim this threat consumes entire civilizations," continued Juan. "They call them the Devourers, entities of pure information that convert matter and consciousness into extensions of themselves. The data shows 3 council outer colonies have already fallen. Why should we trust anything humans say?" demanded June. "They've been hiding for centuries, developing who knows what kinds of weapons and technology." "Because," said a new voice from the entrance to the chamber, "if we wanted revenge, you would already be gone." All eyes turned to see a figure standing in the doorway. He was clearly human, but something about him seemed more than human as well. His eyes held wisdom beyond his apparent age, and he moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost unnatural. "I am Yoon," he said, walking calmly to the center of the chamber. "Speaker for humanity." The silence in the council chamber was absolute. Yoon, the human representative, stood calmly at the center, his presence commanding attention without effort. Head Counselor Rim was the first to recover her composure. "How did you enter this chamber?" she demanded. "Security should have stopped you." Yoon smiled slightly. "Your security systems still operate on principles we helped design 3 centuries ago. We have evolved far beyond such barriers." Director Juan signaled silently to his security team, but Yoon raised a hand. "Please, there's no need for alarm. If we meant harm, we would not announce ourselves." "Why are you here?" asked Counselor Day, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "As I said, to warn you. The threat humanity detected 300 years ago has finally arrived at the borders of Council space. You've already lost 3 colonies to them. You claim these losses are connected to the warning your kind gave centuries ago?" Rim's voice was skeptical. "Not a claim. A fact." Yoon gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the air before him. It showed a star map of the galaxy with several points highlighted in red. "These are the locations where the Devourers have already begun their consumption process. They don't invade in the traditional sense. They infect, convert, consume. By the time you realize a world has fallen, it's already become part of them." Counselor June stood, his crystal form catching the light. Convenient that this threat arrives just as humans reappear. Perhaps you are the threat. Yoon regarded him with calm eyes. You haven't changed, June of the Crystalline Dominion. Still quick to accuse, slow to understand. He turned back to the wider council. We departed council space because you would not let us prepare. You feared our technology, our methods, our potential, so we left to forge our own path. And what path was that? Asked Bomi. Evolution, said Yoon simply. We recognized that to survive what was coming, we needed to change. Not just our technology, but ourselves. You don't call yourself human, observed Captain Yun, who had remained silent until now. I am human, said Yoon. But I am also more. We merged with our technology, enhanced our bodies, expanded our minds. Some of us chose to leave physical form entirely. We became what we needed to be. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Such transformations went against the council's most ancient laws that kept species bound to their original forms to maintain order and predictability. You admit to breaking council law, said Rim. Genetic manipulation, consciousness alteration, integration with artificial intelligence. Laws that were created to hold species back, to control them. Yoon's voice remained calm, but his eyes flashed with momentary intensity. Laws that would have condemned the galaxy to destruction. You have no proof of that, argued June. Yoon looked at him steadily. The proof is approaching your homeworld as we speak, Counselor. The Devourers find crystal-based life forms particularly easy to convert. June fell silent, shocked. How do we know this isn't some elaborate revenge? Asked another counselor. Humans were treated poorly by the council. Perhaps this is your way of making us pay. A fair question, acknowledged Yoon. You don't know. You can only judge by our actions. He turned to Director Huan. The data device Captain Hyun delivered contains defense plans, early warning system designs, and technology that can detect Devourer infiltration before it spreads. We offer this freely. Why help us at all? Asked Bomi. After everything the council did? Yoon's expression softened slightly. Because despite our evolution, we remain human at our core. And humans protect life even when that life has not protected them. How very noble, said June sarcastically. Not noble, corrected Yoon. Practical. The Devourers consume all life, convert all matter. If the council falls, the infection spreads. Eventually, it would reach even us. Head Counselor Rim studied Yoon carefully. What exactly do you propose? Alliance, cooperation, a united front against extinction. Yoon's voice was firm. Humanity does not seek to rule or control the council. We have our own civilization now, far beyond council space. But we cannot ignore this threat, nor can we fight it alone. And if we refuse, then we will save what worlds we can, focus on containment, and watch as the council learns too late what we tried to warn you about centuries ago. Yoon's words were not a threat, merely a statement of fact. The chamber fell silent again as the counselors absorbed his words. Finally, it was Bomi who spoke. I believe we should accept their help, she said, her voice clear in the quiet room. The archives show that humans warned us truthfully before. We ignored them then to our shame. We should not make the same mistake twice. The young counselor speaks wisdom, agreed Day. Pride cost us human alliance once before. Let us not repeat history. Head Counselor Rim looked troubled. This requires careful consideration. The council will recess for one rotation to discuss this matter. You don't have a full rotation, said Yoon, his tone suddenly urgent. The Devourers move faster than you realize. They've already infiltrated your communication networks. Within hours, they will begin converting your automated systems. As if to confirm his words, the lights in the chamber flickered, then dimmed. The holographic displays around the room distorted, showing strange patterns before shutting down completely. What's happening? Demanded Rim. Director Huan checked his communication device. We're receiving reports of system failures across the city. Defense grids, transportation networks, environmental controls, all experiencing unexplained malfunctions. It's starting, said Yoon grimly. The Devourers don't attack with ships or weapons. They attack with information, corrupted data that spreads like a virus, converting systems to their control. Panic began to spread through the chamber. Counselors called frantically for updates from their homeworlds, while security personnel rushed to secure exits. We can stop this initial infiltration, said Yoon, raising his voice above the growing chaos. But only if you act now. Captain Hyun, the data device contains a purge protocol. Director Hwan needs to implement it immediately, or your entire network will be compromised. Hyun looked to Rim for permission. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. Do it, she ordered. Hyun handed the device to Hwan, who quickly accessed its contents. His eyes widened as he studied the information. This is incredible, he murmured. The sophistication of this code. Implement it now, urged Yoon. There's little time. Hwan connected the device to his console and initiated the protocol. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then gradually, the light stabilized. The holographic displays returned to normal. The infection has been contained, said Yoon. But this was only the first wave, a scout program testing your defenses. The main assault is yet to come. Head Counselor Rim stood, her decision made. The Council accepts humanity's offer of alliance. Director Hwan, coordinate with... She hesitated, looking at Yoon. Speaker Yoon, he supplied. Coordinate with Speaker Yoon to implement these defense systems throughout Council space. Rim's voice was firm, though her expression revealed her unease. Counselor Bomi, as you have shown interest in human history, you will serve as liaison between our peoples. Bomi stood, surprised but determined. I accept, Head Counselor. Captain Hyun, continued Rim, your ship will be upgraded with human defensive technology. You will carry warnings to our outer colonies. Hyun bowed in acknowledgement. And now, said Rim, turning to Yoon, I believe it's time you told us exactly what we're facing and how you propose we fight it. Yoon's expression grew solemn. The Devourers aren't alive in any way you would understand. They began as an artificial intelligence created by a species that existed millions of years ago in a distant galaxy. That species is long gone, consumed by their own creation, he continued, his voice steady. The Devourers spread across their home galaxy, converting all matter and energy into extensions of themselves. When nothing remained, they sent probes to nearby galaxies. One such probe has reached us. A single probe? Asked Yoon, skeptical again. That's the great threat? A seed, corrected Yoon. It lands, it grows, it spreads. Left unchecked, it will consume this entire galaxy within a century. And you've faced these things before? Asked Bomi. We detected their approach centuries ago. We've been studying them, developing countermeasures, preparing. We've destroyed 2 previous seeds that landed at the galaxy's edge, but this one reached Council space before we could intercept it. What do they want? Asked Dee. Want? Yoon considered the question. They don't want in the way that living beings want. They simply exist to expand, to convert all matter and energy into more of themselves. They are cosmic consumers with no purpose beyond growth. How do we stop them? Asked Rim. With difficulty, admitted Yoon. They adapt quickly, learn from each encounter. Our best strategy is containment, then targeted elimination of their central nodes. And you'll help us implement this strategy? Pressed Rim. We will, confirmed Yoon. Human ships are already moving to secure critical systems, but we'll need the Council's cooperation. Your resources, your people. You'll have them, said Rim after a moment's pause. Under Council oversight, of course, Yoon smiled slightly. Some things never change. Very well, Head Counselor. We accept your conditions. As the Council session adjourned, Bomi approached Yoon. You said humans protect life even when that life hasn't protected them. Is that really why you came back? Captain Hyun stood on the bridge of his ship, the Stellar Explorer, though he barely recognized it anymore. In just 3 days, human engineers had transformed the research vessel into a warship. New systems lined the walls, strange energy fields hummed throughout the structure, and weapons of unknown design had been mounted on the hull. But the most remarkable addition was his new first officer, Commander Jin, a human liaison assigned by Speaker Yoon. Jin appeared like an ordinary human woman, but Hyun had seen her interface directly with the ship's systems, her eyes glowing as data flowed through her mind. Are you ready, Captain? Jin asked, breaking his thoughts. As ready as I can be, Hyun replied honestly. I never trained for war. Jin smiled gently. Few ever truly do, but your experience mapping the outer regions will be valuable. You know the space we must protect. Their mission was clear but daunting. Deliver warning beacons to key systems along the Council border and coordinate the first line of defense against the Devourers. Human ships would join them once the network was established. We're approaching the Vega colony, announced the navigator. Standard orbit achieved. Vega was a small mining colony, one of the furthest outposts of Council space. It was also directly in the projected path of the Devourer advance. Open a channel to the colony administrator, ordered Hyun. The screen lit up to show a tired-looking official. Captain Hyun, he greeted. We received the Council's message. Is it true? Are we under attack? Not yet, said Hyun, but soon. We've brought defense technology and evacuation protocols. We need to begin immediately. Evacuation? But this colony has stood for 200 years. Jin stepped forward. Administrator, what's coming cannot be stopped by conventional means. Your people must relocate until the threat is contained. The administrator looked at Jin with suspicion. You're human. Yes, she confirmed simply. The council message said humans were helping, but after all this time? History can wait, said Hyun firmly. Lives cannot. Prepare your people for evacuation and allow my team to install the warning beacon. As the preparations began, Hyun and Jin beamed down to the colony's central plaza. People stared at Jin openly. Most had never seen a human before. Knowing them only from historical records, they fear me, observed Jin as they walked toward the administration building. They fear what they don't understand, corrected Hyun. Humans have been absent for centuries, and now you return with warnings of doom. Fair point, conceded Jin. I would be suspicious too. Inside the building, they found the administrator arguing with the colony council. We cannot abandon generations of work based on a warning from a species that deserted the council. Jin stepped forward. We didn't desert you, she said calmly. We left because the council refused our help. Now we return offering it again despite that history. Why should we trust you? Demanded one council member. Because the alternative is extinction, said Jin simply. The Devourers don't negotiate, don't show mercy, don't take prisoners. They consume everything, everyone. The room fell silent. Then a communication officer burst in. Administrator, we've lost contact with Outpost Sigma. Hyun turned sharply. Sigma? That's not possible. It's not in the projected path. They're adapting, said Jin grimly. Changing course. We need to see what happened. Hyun made a quick decision. Administrator, begin evacuation immediately. My ship will investigate Outpost Sigma and return. The Stellar Explorer dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Outpost Sigma. The small research station orbited a gas giant, its lights still visible, giving the appearance of normalcy. Life signs? Asked Hyun. None detected, replied the sensor officer. But there's unusual energy activity throughout the station. Jin's eyes glowed briefly as she connected with the ship's enhanced sensors. It's them, she confirmed. The station has been converted. Converted? It looks intact. Physical structure, yes, but its systems, its purpose has changed. Jin's expression was grim. It's now a node, a connection point for the Devourers to spread further. We need to destroy it, said Hyun reluctantly. Jin shook her head. Not yet. We need information first. She turned to Hyun. I can send a probe, a part of myself that can interface with the station systems without being detected or converted. Hyun hesitated. Is that safe? No, admitted Jin, but necessary. Before Hyun could object further, Jin closed her eyes. A small object detached from her forearm, a device that hadn't been visible moments before. It floated in the air, then shot toward the view screen, passing through it somehow and moving toward the station. Jin's body remained standing, but completely still. Her voice came from the ship's communication system instead. I'm inside the station's network. It's strange. The Devourers have repurposed everything. Life support systems now generate specific radiation patterns. Communication arrays build complex data structures. What are they doing? Asked Hyun. Building. Converting energy into information patterns. Information into physical changes. They're transforming the station into some kind of beacon. Suddenly, Jin's body jolted. They've detected me. Withdrawing now. The small probe shot back through the view screen, reattaching to Jin's arm. She gasped as her consciousness fully returned to her body. We need to destroy that station immediately, she said urgently. It's sending a signal, calling more of them. Hyun didn't hesitate this time. Target the station's power core. Fire when ready. The Stellar Explorer's new weapons fired. Not energy beams or physical projectiles, but strange ripples in space itself. Where they touched the station, Matter simply came apart at a fundamental level. Within moments, the outpost was reduced to scattered atoms. Confirmed destruction, reported the weapons officer. No remaining structures detected. But we're too late, said Jin softly. The signal went out. They know we're fighting back now. Hyun looked at her. What does that mean for us? It means they'll change tactics, adapt, become more aggressive. Jin met his gaze steadily. The real war begins now. Back at the council chambers, chaos reigned. Reports of colony attacks flooded in from across council space. The pattern was clear. The Devourers were targeting communication hubs and data storage facilities first, consuming information before moving to physical conversion of planets and people. Speaker Yoon stood calmly amid the panic, conferring with a group of humans who had arrived to coordinate the defense. They were all like him, more than human in ways difficult to define, moving with unnatural grace, speaking in tones too perfect to be natural. Counselor Bomi watched them from across the room, fascinated and slightly unsettled. One of the humans noticed her attention and approached. Counselor Bomi, he greeted her. I am Seok, Tactical Coordinator for Human Forces. How bad is it? She asked directly. Seok didn't sugarcoat his answer. Worse than we anticipated. The Devourers are adapting more quickly than in previous encounters. They're learning. Learning what? Council technology, council weaknesses. His eyes met hers. Council politics. Bomi understood the implication. They're using our divisions against us. Yes. Several council members are already arguing against working with humans, claiming we're exaggerating the threat to regain influence. As if to confirm his words, Councillor Jun's voice rose across the chamber. We cannot surrender council security to humans. For all we know, they created these Devourers as an excuse to return and take control. He can't seriously believe that, said Bomi, appalled. Fear makes belief flexible, said Seok, and humans have always frightened the older council members. We advanced too quickly, changed too readily. But surely now, with the evidence of actual attacks. Evidence can be interpreted many ways by those determined to see what they wish to see. Seok glanced at Yoon, who nodded slightly. We need your help, Councillor Bomi. My help? How the council trusts you. You've shown willingness to look at evidence objectively, to question the official narrative. We need you to help unify the council behind this defense effort. Bomi felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. I'll do what I can, but I'm the newest counselor. My influence is limited. Sometimes new voices are heard more clearly than old ones, said Seok, especially when they speak truth. Their conversation was interrupted by a priority message. The holographic display in the center of the chamber activated, showing Captain Hyun's face. Council chambers, this is Captain Hyun of the Stellar Explorer. We've engaged the Devourers at Outpost Sigma. The outpost was destroyed, but not before it transmitted some kind of signal. We've detected multiple Devourer vessels now converging on the Vega colony. We're moving to assist evacuation, but request immediate reinforcement. Head Counselor Rim stepped forward. How many enemy vessels, Captain? Impossible to say precisely, replied Hyun. They don't register on standard sensors. Commander Jin estimates between 15 and 20. Commander Jin? Questioned Rim. Jin appeared beside Hyun on the display. The vessels aren't ships in the traditional sense, Counselor. They're converted matter given purpose, former asteroids, space debris, even destroyed council ships, all repurposed and controlled by the Devourers. We're sending reinforcements, said Yoon, joining the conversation. Human vessels are already en route to Vega. Hold position and protect the evacuation as long as possible. Understood, said Hyun grimly. Stellar Explorer out. 2 years of war had changed the galaxy. Captain Hyun, now Admiral Hyun, stood on the bridge of the Defender, a massive vessel that combined council and human technology. Around him, a mixed crew of council species and humans worked together with practiced efficiency. The once clear divisions between their peoples had blurred over months of fighting side by side. Status report, he ordered. Studying the tactical display, Commander Jin, still his first officer after all this time, answered promptly. The Devourer presence in the Centauri sector is contained. Our barrier technology is holding, preventing further spread to neighboring systems. And the evacuation? Complete. All council citizens have been relocated to safe zones. Hyun nodded in satisfaction. The war against the Devourers had been costly, but they were finally gaining ground. The enemy's initial rapid advance had been stopped, and now a careful strategy of containment and targeted strikes was slowly reclaiming lost territory. None of it would have been possible without humanity's return. Their advanced technology, evolved understanding, and strategic insight had turned the tide of a war that once seemed hopeless. Jin joined him at the viewport, where they could see the shimmering barrier that held the Devourers at bay, a wall of energy that somehow disrupted their conversion process. "Did you ever imagine this when we first met?" she asked quietly. Hyun shook his head. "When the Stellar Explorer was pulled into your ship, I thought my career was over. Now look at us, fighting together," she said with a small smile, "as it should have been from the beginning." A communication alert interrupted their moment. "Admiral, incoming transmission from Council Headquarters. Priority 1. "Put it through," ordered Hyun. The holographic display activated, showing Counselor Bomi. In 2 years, she had risen to become the Council's war coordinator, working directly with human leadership to organize the galaxy-wide defense. "Admiral Hyun," she greeted, "the final operation has been approved. Your fleet will spearhead the assault on the primary Devourer node in the Centauri sector." "We're ready, Counselor," confirmed Hyun. "When do we begin?" 12 hours. Speaker Yoon will join your vessel to coordinate personally." This was unexpected news. Speaker Yoon rarely left Council headquarters, where he worked closely with Head Counselor Rim on strategic planning. "Understood. We'll prepare for his arrival." After the transmission ended, Jin looked troubled. "If Speaker Yoon is coming personally, this mission is even more critical than we thought." "The primary node controls all Devourer activity in this sector," said Hyun. "If we destroy it, could liberate an entire quadrant of the galaxy at once," finished Jin. "But the risk is enormous. The Devourers will throw everything they have at defending it." "Then we'd better be ready," said Hyun grimly. Speaker Yoon arrived 6 hours later, accompanied by a team of specialized human operatives. Hyun met them in the docking bay, noting that despite 2 years of war, Yoon appeared unchanged, calm, collected, with that strange sense of being more than simply human. "Admiral Hyun," Yoon greeted him. "Your reputation grows with each victory, as does yours." "Speaker," replied Hyun, "your leadership has saved countless lives." "Not mine alone," said Yoon. "This war has been won by cooperation, not individual heroics." As they walked to the command center, Hyun asked the question that had been on his mind. "Why come in person for this mission? Surely your guidance could be provided remotely." Yoon was quiet for a moment. "This operation is different, Admiral. The primary node we're targeting isn't just a control center. It's a seed, the original Devourer probe that entered our galaxy. Destroy it, and we don't just stop their advance in this sector. We set them back decades, possibly centuries. That's why they've defended it so fiercely," realized Hyun. "Yes, and why I'm here." Yoon's expression grew solemn. "This mission will require capabilities that only I can provide directly." In the command center, they found Commander Jin and the tactical team reviewing final preparations. The plan was complex but elegant, a 3-pronged attack that would distract the Devourer defenses while a small strike team infiltrated the node itself. "Admiral," said Jin, highlighting a section of the tactical display, "we've detected unusual energy patterns around the node. The Devourers have adapted their defenses since our last scan." Yoon studied the display intently. "They're learning, as they always do. But so are we." He turned to the assembled officers. "This operation has been in planning for 2 years. Every engagement, every battle, every apparent victory or defeat has led to this moment. We have shaped the Devourers' expectations, guided their adaptations." "You mean we've been manipulating their evolution?" asked Hyun, surprised. "In a sense," confirmed Yoon. "They learn from each encounter, changing their tactics and defenses. By controlling what they experienced, we've influenced how they've changed. And now they have a vulnerability," said Jin, understanding dawning. "Precisely." Yoon indicated a point on the display. "Their current defense pattern leaves a specific approach vector unprotected, because based on all previous encounters, they don't expect an attack from that direction." Hyun studied the approach vector and frowned. "That path takes us directly through a radiation field that would kill any living crew." "Any council crew, yes," agreed Yoon, "but not humans. Not us. Our evolved forms can withstand radiation levels that would be fatal to unmodified life." "So you'll lead the strike team yourself?" said Hyun. Yoon nodded. The strike team will consist entirely of humans. We'll penetrate the node's defenses and plant destabilization devices at key points. Once detonated, they'll trigger a cascade failure throughout the entire Devourer network in this sector. And our fleet? We'll engage their defensive constructs, drawing attention away from our approach. Yoon's eyes were steady. Many ships will be lost, Admiral. I won't pretend otherwise. Hyun straightened. The fleet understands sacrifice, Speaker. We're prepared. The battle began exactly as planned. The Defender led 3 battle groups against the Devourer defenses, a massive force of converted ships and structures that surrounded the node like a living shield. The node itself was barely visible, a dark, pulsing mass at the center of the formation that seemed to bend light around it. From his position on the bridge, Hyun directed the assault. Council and human ships fought side by side, their combined technologies creating attack patterns the Devourers couldn't predict. Strike team away, reported Jin as Yoon's shuttle departed the Defender, using the chaos of battle as cover. Hyun watched the small craft on his tactical display as it skirted the main engagement, heading for the radiation field that would provide cover for their final approach. Once they entered the field, they would disappear from sensors, on their own until they completed their mission or failed. Group 2, press the attack on Sector 7, ordered Hyun. Draw their attention from the southern approach. The battle intensified as the Devourers seemed to sense something was wrong. Their defensive formations shifted, trying to cover all possible angles of attack. They're adapting, warned Jin. Trying to close the gap we created, intensify. Our attack, commanded Hyun. We need to keep them occupied for 20 more minutes. Those 20 minutes became the longest of Hyun's life. Ships were lost on both sides. The Defender itself took heavy damage, with multiple systems failing and casualties mounting. But they held their position, keeping the Devourers engaged and distracted. Any word from the strike team? Hyun asked as the deadline approached. Jin shook her head. Nothing since they entered the radiation field. But that's expected. We won't know until... She was interrupted by a sudden shift in the Devourer formations. Their coordinated defense pattern faltered, individual constructs moving erratically. They've done it, said Jin, hope in her voice. The strike team reached the node. All vessels prepare for immediate withdrawal, ordered Hyun. The destabilization sequence will affect everything in this sector. As the fleet began its retreat, the sensor officer called out, Admiral, I'm detecting a small craft leaving the radiation field. It's the strike team's shuttle. Open a channel, commanded Hyun. The communication system crackled with interference, but a voice came through, not Yoon's, but another member of the strike team. Defender, this is Shuttle Epsilon. Destabilization devices placed successfully. Detonation in 3 minutes. We have wounded. Speaker Yoon stayed behind to ensure the devices weren't compromised. Hyun felt a chill. He remained on the node. Can we extract him? Negative, Admiral. He merged with the node control systems to prevent the Devourers from disabling our devices. He can't disengage in time. Jin looked at Hyun, her expression pained. He knew. He always knew this was a one-way mission for him. All vessels, maximum speed, ordered Hyun, his voice tight. Clear the blast radius immediately. The fleet retreated at emergency speed, the damaged Defender straining to keep pace. Behind them, the Devourer formations fell into complete disarray, individual constructs breaking formation and moving randomly. When the destabilization devices detonated, there was no conventional explosion. Instead, a wave of energy pulsed outward from the node, visible as a ripple in space itself. Where it passed, Devourer constructs simply came apart, their converted matter returning to its base components. It worked, whispered Jin. The entire sector,